All right, hey, welcome to our final week together. Welcome everybody here. Welcome those who are watching online. Week number 5 of really what I'm calling our Arise journey. And so for probably most of us, or many of us, we've made our commitment to arise, to see what God is going to do through us. Maybe some of you will be making commitments this next weekend for whatever reason you need more time to pray, or you weren't able to be there on the weekend. But either way, we are not, I don't want us to think that we're ending this movement, if you will. No, this is just kind of the tail end of the launch. This is the push, right? This is the beginning, if you will, of what we're about to see God to do. And so I want to say thank you to everyone, those here, those online, for taking this journey with us and for walking this out with us and for saying, God, I'm going to trust, I'm going to surrender, right? This is my tribe. These are my people. This is where we're going together. God is going to do exceedingly abundantly above all we can ask or think, according to His power that works in us, yeah. And so, man, what an exciting journey. And we're here in week number 5. In week number 5, we're talking about being what I call a way maker. A way maker. I think this is what we see in the life of Abraham, but I think this is what God has called all of us to be, is a way maker, in that we make a way for others to walk out their journey, to walk in faith. When you look at Abraham in Galatians chapter 3, it says God preached the gospel to Abraham in advance, saying, in you all the nations of the earth are going to be blessed. And that Abraham, through his faith, was actually going to make like a wake of faith for all of us to walk in. See, if you think about it, we don't start where Abraham started. We start where Abraham finished. Right? His ceiling becomes our floor. And if you think about it with Jesus, where are we? We're seated with Christ in heavenly. We don't start where Jesus started. We start at the empty tomb. Right? He's a way maker, right? God is a way maker. He makes a way where there seems to be no way. Yeah. So God is a way maker, and I think God calls all of us. I think this is actually the calling of God on each of us, is to be a way maker. In Luke chapter 5, we talked about this cool story where this is kind of Jesus is starting out in ministry, and this is where he calls Peter, Simon Peter, to be his follower. But Jesus is standing on the shore of the Sea of Galilee, and the crowd is pressing in. Because, he was a good preacher, right? He's pretty good. He didn't just preach the word, he was the word. And so, he's a good preacher. And they're pressing in and he needs to preach, and there are these 2 boats sitting there, and one of them belongs to Peter. And basically, Jesus is like, hey, Peter, I need your boat. Right? I need your boat. And this is where, to me, I see the calling of a waymaker. He's actually calling, in fact, it's the first thing you could write down if you wanted to, the calling of a waymaker, that God calls us to make a way for others. Just like He called Abraham, now Jesus, the Word, is calling Peter, and He's saying, hey, Peter, there's some people who don't just need to hear someone preach about the Word. That's what I do. There's some people here who need to actually hear the Word. But they're not going to be able to hear the Word without a waymaker. I need to borrow the boat. I need to go out just a little bit from the shore so that these people get the Word. See, to me, this has never been about just building a building for us. No. That's an introspective. That's looking inside. That's too much focus on the inside. No. What we're doing is about those who have yet to join us. What we're doing is about the person who hasn't accepted Christ yet. What we're doing is about the person who hasn't found their purpose yet. They haven't found freedom yet. They haven't really experienced grace yet. That's what we're doing. We're making a way for someone else who needs the Word. And that's exactly the calling that we see here, is that people need the Word. People needed to hear the Word, but the Word needed a way. And so Jesus says, hey, I'm going to need this boat, right? I wonder how many times, have you ever thought about why Peter? Because Peter was a little rough. He's a cusser, right? He's a cusser, not Christian cuss words. He's a fisherman. Right? When you think about Peter, I mean, Peter cut a guy's ear off. I mean, he's a little violent. Right? When you think about Peter, he's kind of a know-it-all. He's always talking up. Right? He's always speaking out. I mean, when you think about all the things about Peter's personality, and then you think about his insecurity, I mean, you think about all these things, and people are like, well, you know what? You know what? Jesus picked Peter because Peter was bold. Have you guys ever heard that? And I think Peter was bold, right? But do you know why I think Peter was picked? Because he had a boat. God picked Peter because he needed a boat. Peter had a boat. And most of the time, do you know what it means to be a waymaker? It's just letting God use what you have. That's the difference, really. It's where you let God use what you have. See, someone had to make a way for the people to hear the word. The word needed a way. Peter had a boat. He had a way. The word's powerful, but the word needs a way. How can they believe unless someone preaches? Right? How can they follow unless they're told, unless the gospel is preached? And so I think there's the calling of the waymaker, and I think this is what I love, is there's the collaboration of the waymaker. In other words, Jesus, if you think about this, and we talked about this, but to me it's just so funny, so it's worth saying again, but Jesus just gets in Peter's boat. And then they have the conversation. Like, if you don't think this weird, next weekend at Pathway, just find you a nice car and just get in it. And when whoever that owns that car comes to that car, just say, hey, I thought I could use your car. I mean, that's kind of what Jesus did. He just gets in a boat. And Peter's like, who are you? What are you doing? He's like, I need your boat. The word needs a way. And the way God has always created mankind was this blessed collaboration between God and man. When you look at Abraham, God wanted a nation that he could bless the world through. And he chose Abraham and said, Abraham, I want you to be that guy. I want to collaborate with you because the Creator, God, desires that. If you don't think about this the right way, and I've thought about this many times, I'm like, Jesus needed Peter's boat. But truthfully, this is Jesus. He could have just walked on the water. Like, he really didn't need the boat. See, the truth was, Jesus didn't need Peter's boat. Peter needed Jesus' blessing. And sometimes if we're not careful, we think, hey, when we're giving our finances, it's because Jesus needs my money. I used to think, Jesus needs I got to help Jesus out. No. That's not what it's about. Right? One time Peter needed some money to pay taxes, and Jesus said, go fishing. You're a fisherman, that's what you're good at. And there was money in the fish's mouth. See, the truth was, Jesus didn't really need Peter's boat. He could have just walked out. And by the way, that would have been like an illustrated sermon. He's standing out, got something to say. Everybody just fall out. Anyways. But really, Peter needed the blessing. See, that's the amazing thing. God asked us to make a way. Not because he really needs us to make the way. He can use somebody else. There were two boats. He could have used the other boat. He asked us to make a way because we need his blessing on our lives. We're going to pause right here, and we're going to have some discussion. And you at home, we want you to discuss too. Here's a couple of questions you can discuss. Is number one, what does it mean to be a waymaker? What does it mean for you to be a waymaker? Number two, what do you have that God can use? What do you have that God can use? Have that discussion in your group. You can pause the video now. Have that discussion, and we'll be back in just a moment to finish up week number 5. All right, welcome back. Welcome back. We're talking about being waymakers, and I think that's what God has called all of us to be, all of us to do. Just like Abraham, he wants a people that he can bless others through. And that's really what we're seeing in this story in the Bible, in Luke chapter 5, where Jesus says, hey, Peter, I'm going to need to borrow your boat. Will you make a way for the word to get to the people? And that's what Arise is really all about. As we arise into our purpose and we arise into our calling, we're actually making a way for others. And so we talked about the calling of a waymaker and the collaboration of the waymaker, but where I want to end and where I want to conclude this study is really the blessing of a waymaker. Because in Luke chapter 5, Jesus preaches probably the greatest sermon in the world because He is the Word. He preaches probably the greatest sermon in the world. And then He says, hey, Peter, launch out into the deep. Right? Launch out into the deep. And Peter kind of rebuts him a little bit, says, hey, first of all, it's past the time when fish bite. And secondly, I don't know if you're aware of this, but we fished all night and we caught nothing, right? And you know, this is what I think faith is. I think faith is being willing to launch out into the deep when it doesn't make sense. I think that's what faith is. But the great thing about this is Peter's like, Jesus, we fished, we're tired. I mean, this story kind of starts with they're washing their nets, right? But I love it because Peter does it anyway. You know, I think God can bless obedience even with a bad attitude sometimes. I think God's so gracious that even when our obedience our obedience is on point, even if our attitude is waning a little bit, God's still like, okay, well, I can bless the obedience. See, the truth is, the blessing always follows the obedience. Blessing always. Listen, to expect a blessing when I haven't been obedient is by definition, it's entitlement. Right? To expect blessing or harvest when I haven't sown, to expect the blessing first when I haven't given, to expect the blessing first when I haven't obeyed. I mean, that's kind of entitlement. I'm expecting to basically reap a harvest where I haven't sown. And so here's Peter. He's like, okay, I don't have the best attitude, but I'm going to be obedient and I'm going to launch out into the deep, even though I know this is not going to work. And the next thing you see, right? Peter's nets are breaking because of the fish. And he has to call his partners to come in the other boat and try to help him pull the nets in. And now we have two boats that the blessing is so big, it's sinking two boats. Right? When you think about bring the tithe into storehouse and how he's going to open the windows of heaven and pour out a blessing, there's not room enough to receive. Here's a picture. Peter's obedient, and now there's a blessing that there isn't room enough to receive. And that's exactly what happens with Abraham. Abraham, I want you to follow me. Through you, all the nations of the earth. See, this is what it means to be a waymaker. We miss this because we think, well, in my sacrifice, I'm making a way. No, in my obedience, I'm stepping into a greater blessing, so much so that God will bless me to the point it overflows on everybody around me. Right? Here's Abraham. God says to Abraham, I'm going to bless you so much, everybody around you is going to get blessed. Everybody after you is going to get blessed. Right? Peter, launch out into the deep. And the next thing you know, Peter's blessing has overflown and now his partners are pulling in the biggest catch probably of their life, so much so we're sinking two boats. Why? Because he was a waymaker. He stepped into what he didn't understand. He was obedient beyond what he could really anticipate or even see. And the next thing you know, because he makes a way, God is pouring out on him a blessing that now really is blessing everybody around him. If you think about it this way, this is not where the story ends. Like, that part is good, but that's not where the story ends. Because you know where the story ends? It ends with Peter walking away from the biggest catch of his life. Think about that. God says, hey, will you make a way? Yeah, I'll make a way. God says, hey, launch out into the deep. Okay, I'll launch out into the deep. Then there's this catch, this blessing that is more than he could fathom. So much so it overflowed on everybody around him. And the next thing you see in verse 11, it says, they pulled their boats on the shore and left everything and followed Jesus. See, can I say it this way? The blessing of the waymaker isn't the fish, it's the favor. Because that, 1 or 2 hour complimentary boat rental that Peter gave to Jesus turned into 3 years of watching the Word in flesh restoring creation and mankind back to God. That 3 hour tour, remember the Gilligan's Island, that 3 hour tour, turned into 3 years of Peter witnessing miracle after miracle after miracle. It was never about the fish, it was about the favor. It was never about the fish, it was about the favor. And when we make a way from God, make a way for God, yes, there's going to be blessing. Yes, there's going to be increase. But it's really not about the fish. It's about the favor. See, when I think about Pathway, and Bill's here, he'll remember, but I think about the launch team. A lot of you don't know those guys. Some of them are still very much a part of our church. But I think about this group of, I think there's 18 of us or so, and we had these interest meetings, and we said, okay, we're going to make a run at planting this church. And somehow I convinced them that this is what we needed to do, right? And they were crazy enough to say, we'll make a way where there seems to be no way, right? And I have a picture of this launch team the night before our first service, and we're praying. Mostly that somebody else would show up. You know what I'm saying? But we're praying. And this launch team for, 7 or 8 months had given, they had sown, because they were given into the offering box even before the services start. And they had given, they had sown, they had served. I mean, these people were saying, hey, we don't know if anybody's coming behind us or not, but we're going to try to make a wake where someone wants to come behind us, they can. And that group of 18 people that we were all sitting there and we were praying, that group of 18 people turned into 149 people the next morning. And now we're over 1,000 people. And so when I think about Waymakers, I think about them, and then I think about the people that were in the hotel. There's about 200 of us in the hotel, and we had to take up an offer, the biggest offering I think we'd taken to that point was like $13,000. And I think we had given that away to Haiti or something like that when the tsunami and all hit. And now we needed like $130,000 to move from that hotel to the Loop location where we are meeting now. And this group of 200 people gave. And they made a way for everyone else. And now here we are, this 1,000 people that is at this Loop 281 location. Now what we're doing is we're making a way for the 10,000. We're making a way for the next 1,000 people, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. We're making a way for all of them to walk into, to hear the word, to be blessed. But to me, the biggest thing is not walking in blessing. The biggest thing is walking in favor. That's what I want for all of us. That's what Arise is about. It's about stepping up, trust, surrender, walking in favor, making a way. Man, it's been such a joy to do these 5 weeks together. I've loved it. I hope you loved it. I hope you guys who have been watching online have loved it. Such a great, great season that we're just launching out as a church, launching into the deep. We don't know what's coming. We know God's faithful. We know God's good. We don't know what it's going to look like. We're praying for the miracle. We're just launching out into the deep. And as we end this time, I want us 2 more things to discuss. 2 more things that I want us to look at together. And that is number 1, why do you think God desires to use us? I want you to talk about that. Why do you think God wants to use you? Because He does. The second thing is, what's the real blessing? What's the real benefit, I should say, of being a waymaker? Pathway, I want us all to be waymakers. Not just in this moment, not just in this season, but even when we move, when we're in a new building, when we're in a new facility, I want us to continue to think we are here to make a way for others. We are here to create a wake by our trust, by our surrender, by our faithfulness. We are here to make a wake so that others can hear the word, so that others can be transformed. It's been so great having this time together. Man, Pathway, the best truly is yet to come. As we all arise, God will arise over our community, over our city, over our region. And I'm telling you, it's going to be amazing. God bless you. It's been so good doing this study with you. I do believe, as I just said, the best is yet to come.